My name is Lena Hart, and this is the story of how my sister tried to humiliate me in front of her boss and ended up promoting me without knowing it. The backyard was buzzing with familiar laughter and clinking wine glasses. The annual Hart family reunion was always a full-blown production, and this year it was held at our parents' estate in Connecticut. Fresh-cut flowers on every table, an ice sculpture shaped like the company logo of Hart & Wallace Investments. And of course Natalie, my twin sister, holding court in the middle of it all. Natalie had just been promoted to Vice President of Strategic Growth at the firm, the pride of the family, the one who did everything right. As I reached for a flute of champagne, I heard her unmistakable voice float over the jazz band. "Oh, this is my twin sister, Lena," she chirped to a group of sharply dressed colleagues, including a silver-haired man I recognized from LinkedIn, James Wallace, himself. "She's between things right now, dabbling in startups." Dabbling? I nearly choked on my drink. Natalie's hand wrapped around my shoulder, pulling me in close. She's brilliant in her own quirky way. Always had her head in the clouds building apps or whatever it is tech people do these days. She smiled sweetly. It was the kind of smile that says, "Bless her heart," in the most condescending way possible. The group chuckled politely. Mr. Wallace gave me a curt nod. "Well, it's always good to meet creative minds." Natalie beamed, like she'd just won a prize. "Of course, if it doesn't work out, I'm sure we can find something for her at the firm. An assistant role, maybe. Everyone starts somewhere." I didn't say a word. I didn't need to, because what Natalie didn't know, what nobody at this reunion knew, was that my dabbling had resulted in the recent acquisition of my cybersecurity startup for $48 million. The ink on the deal hadn't even dried. My lawyers and I were still finalizing the NDA-laced paperwork with Hart & Wallace's technology division, which, ironically, Natalie was now overseeing. Yes, her team was about to roll out my software as their firm's new security backbone. She just didn't know it yet. I sipped my champagne and smiled. Let her talk. Later, our mother floated over, cheeks flushed with pride. "Natalie says there's an entry-level opening on her team. Maybe you could apply? It'd be good for you to have some structure again." I forced a laugh. "Structure, right. I know it's been hard for you, sweetheart," she added, voice soft with manufactured sympathy. "But you're lucky to have Natalie. She always looks out for you." I watched Natalie across the yard, shaking hands and throwing her head back in practiced laughter. Always performing, always needing to be the favorite. Aunt Celia joined me near the edge of the garden, holding 2 glasses of red wine. "She really has no idea, does she?" she asked, offering me one. "About who you are now." I blinked. "You know?" "Please," she scoffed. "I read Forbes. You gave a keynote at the Rising Women in Tech conference last month. I nearly fell out of my chair when I saw your name." I laughed, genuinely this time. "And no," she added, raising a brow. "I didn't tell your parents. I figured you had your reasons." I nodded, waiting for the right moment. "Well," Aunt Celia said with a mischievous twinkle, "next week's board announcement might be that moment." I smiled into my glass. That's when I saw the email on my phone from the Hart & Wallace IT director, confirming full rollout of my system next quarter. Natalie's crowning achievement as VP, and she still didn't know it had my name on it, but she would, soon. The Monday after the reunion, I received a letter I wasn't supposed to see. It came in a thick envelope with the Hart & Wallace seal, addressed to me by mistake. Inside, a confidential internal memo from the board. They were formalizing the sulfur CTO offer. I reread it 3 times to be sure. The wording was crystal clear. The board recognizes Lena Hart as the lead innovator behind the cybersecurity infrastructure recently acquired. Pending announcement, we intend to extend the offer of Chief Technology Officer, effective Q3. I stared at it in stunned silence, not because I was surprised by the offer, but because it confirmed what I'd suspected. Natalie had no clue. The firm had done their research after her glowing pitch, traced the product back to me, and decided they wanted more than just my code. They wanted me. The same morning, my phone buzzed with a message from Natalie. HR said they need you to fill out paperwork for the junior analyst role. Bring a blazer. I nearly dropped my coffee. It would be funny if it weren't so perfectly on brand. I opened my laptop and drafted a short email to the board thanking them for the offer. I didn't hit send yet. I needed to see how far Natalie would go before the truth hit her like a brick. Aunt Celia called that night. Did you get it? She asked. No pleasantries? I got it, I said. They're offering me CTO. She exhaled sharply. Well, I hope you're ready. That title doesn't come with applause. It comes with war. I smiled. I've been at war with my sister since we were 5. The next few days passed in surreal slow motion. Natalie kept sending me check-ins. Just checking that you filled out the HR forms. I told them to fast-track you. Make sure you CC me on everything, sis. It'll look good for you to be seen as my protege. Protege. I was implementing the tech her entire firm was pivoting around. Every time she condescended, I saved the messages. And then came Thursday. The company-wide announcement email hit my inbox. At 10:07 a.m. sharp.subject. Welcoming our new CTO, Lena Hart opened it. My headshot beamed back at me, framed by paragraphs about my accomplishments, the acquisition, my background, my vision. My phone blew up, not from Natalie, from board members, partners, journalists. One message from Mr. Wallace himself. Looking forward to building the future of H&W together. But Natalie? Radio silence. Until 10:41. She burst into my apartment like a hurricane, cheeks flushed. Are you kidding me? She shrieked. You let me parade you around like some charity case, all while knowing this was coming? I stood calmly. You seemed to enjoy the spotlight. Why didn't you tell me? Why would I asked. You made it clear what you thought of my career. Her voice cracked. But you let me offer you a job. In my department. I didn't flinch. And now you work in mine. She went silent. I held up the memo from the board. They chose me, Nat. Not because I'm your sister, but because I built something real. She sat down hard on my couch. This is going to ruin me. I looked at her, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel like the screw-up twin. I felt whole. No, I said gently. This might be the thing that finally saves you, if you let it. She didn't respond, but she didn't storm out either, and for Natalie Hart, that was progress. Lena Hart hadn't felt this alive in years. The elevator chimed softly as she ascended to the 48th floor of the Reeves Tech Tower. Dressed in a sleek navy pantsuit, her hair pulled into a precise low bun, Lena looked every bit the executive she was becoming. But no one here knew her name, not yet. To the outside world, she was Elena Gray, the enigmatic cybersecurity genius recently appointed Chief Technology Officer of Reeves Hart Holdings, the result of a recent high-profile merger. The board announcement had gone out internally just that morning, signed with her pseudonym, citing an NDA-protected acquisition. It was all part of the plan, and Natalie Hart, her older sister, VP of Strategic Growth, hadn't connected the dots. Not when she pitched a new security framework last quarter. Not when she unknowingly championed Lena's proprietary system as the backbone of the company's tech upgrade. And certainly not now, as she prepared for a joint meeting with the incoming CTO she still hadn't met. Lena had watched it all unfold from the shadows. Natalie's polished presentations, her speeches about innovation, and the pride with which she sold a system her sister built from a tiny apartment over 3 grueling years. At first, Lena had considered revealing herself immediately. But Dia Irene had said it best over coffee a week ago. Let her speak about your brilliance first, before she knows it's you. Let her be proud, without ego. So Lena waited, and watched, and rose. Her new office had floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking the skyline. Minimalist, clean, sharp, just like the infrastructure she had designed. A matte plaque on the door read, CTO, Elena Gray, Dia. Irene was already waiting inside, perching on the guest chair with a smug grin. You're late for your own arrival. Fashionably, Lena murmured, slipping out of her coat. And how does it feel? Irene asked, eyes gleaming. Lena hesitated. Like walking into a building I was never allowed in as a kid. And now, I own part of the foundation. Dia Irene reached for her hand. You earned every brick. And this is just the beginning. The staff orientation was scheduled for 11 a.m. sharp. Lena watched through the one-way glass wall as department heads filed into the conference room. Among them, Natalie. She wore crimson today, confident, calculated. Lena saw the way her sister held court, laughing too loudly, gesturing just enough. It was familiar, almost nostalgic, until Natalie leaned toward a colleague and said, I hope this CTO isn't another tech bro with no social skills. Lena raised an eyebrow. Guess I'll have to disappoint. Good morning. The room fell silent as Lena stepped into the conference hall. Every screen bore the logo of Reeves Hart. The slide behind her read, Welcome, CTO Gray. She walked to the head of the table, laptop in hand. A soft rustle as chairs straightened, pens poised. Natalie turned slowly. Recognition didn't come. Instantly, there was a flicker of confusion, then shock, then something sharper. Lena smiled. Before we begin, let me reintroduce myself. I'm Lena Hart. You may know me by a different name, or perhaps not at all. But as of today, I serve as your Chief Technology Officer. Gasps, murmurs. Natalie froze. Some of you may also remember a product we recently licensed, SentinelX. The security platform that passed every audit with flying colors? I built that. In my studio apartment, with secondhand servers and 3 maxed-out credit cards. She let it sink in. I was the unemployed little sister some of you met at a family barbecue. I was the tech hobbyist Natalie once offered to mentor. Lena turned toward her sister, gaze level. Turns out I didn't need mentorship. I needed opportunity. Silence. But not the awkward kind. The kind that came before tectonic shifts. Natalie's voice finally cracked the tension. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have listened, or would you have laughed it off with Dad at dinner? Natalie flinched. This isn't about revenge, Lena continued. It's about reclaiming space. We keep telling young women to dream big, but when they do, even their families sometimes doubt them. So I stopped waiting for permission, and I built something on my own terms. She clicked the remote. The screen displayed charts, reduced breach risk, improved infrastructure efficiency, cost savings. I'm not here to gloat. I'm here to lead. After the presentation, most staff trickled out quietly, heads down, minds racing. Natalie stayed. You really built all that by yourself? Lena nodded. 3 years, nights, weekends, every part of it. Natalie sank into a chair. I called you a sister between jobs. You did. And now you're my boss? Lena smiled, softening. Only if you stay. Natalie looked up, stunned. You'd want that? After everything? I want a team that works, and you're good at what you do, when you're not trying to outshine everyone. Maybe it's time we learn to shine side by side. For the first time in years, Natalie didn't have a comeback. She just nodded, and Lena exhaled. The rise wasn't about leaving people behind. It was about lifting herself, and maybe, just maybe, showing others how to do the same. The boardroom buzzed with energy. Lena stood just outside the glass doors of the Hart Investments executive conference room. Her heels echoed softly against the marble floor as she adjusted the collar of her tailored blazer, the very image of poise. Behind the door sat her sister Natalie, unaware of the storm about to walk in. Inside, Gregory Hart, founder and CEO, stood addressing the executive team, his deep voice cutting through the chatter. Today marks a new chapter for Hart Investments. With our upcoming merger with Reeves Tech, we're not just acquiring technology, we're redefining our future. Natalie, seated 2 spots from the head of the table, leaned in with a confident smile. She had been at the center of this merger. She had pitched the integration, pushed for the adoption of the mysterious security platform that Reeves Tech had acquired, and was ready to take credit for every bit of it. Gregory continued, and now, to lead our technical transformation, I'm proud to introduce the new Chief Technology Officer for the merged entity." He turned toward the entrance. The double doors swung open. Lena stepped in. The room went utterly still. Natalie's smile froze. The color drained from her face. "Meet Lena Rowe," Gregory announced, beaming. "Founder of Citadel Protocol, the very platform we're integrating, and now our new CTO." The silence was brutal. Natalie stared at Lena as if she were hallucinating. "What?" she finally choked out, her voice thin. Lena smiled politely. "Hello, everyone." A few executives clapped hesitantly, unsure whether they were witnessing a surprise promotion or a corporate coup. Natalie stood abruptly, her chair scraping the floor. "You can't be serious," she said, looking at Gregory, then at Lena. "She's not qualified for this. She doesn't know this company." Lena's eyes never wavered. "On the contrary," she said calmly, "I know this company inside out. I've been watching it from the outside for years, and now from the inside, thanks to you." "What does that mean?" Natalie asked, her voice rising. Gregory cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should all take a seat," he said firmly. "Lena, would you walk us through your roadmap?" Lena stepped up to the screen. Her presentation was precise, detailed, visionary. She laid out a 24-month transformation strategy, touching on cybersecurity, AI integrations, and scalable infrastructure. She handled every question from the board with confidence. Even the sharpest technical ones Natalie never would have been able to answer on her own. Natalie sat frozen. She didn't speak until the room applauded. When the board members began, murmuring in impressed tones, Natalie finally snapped. "This is ridiculous," she hissed. "You blindsided me. You're my sister and you didn't even tell me?" Lena turned to her. "You made it clear how you saw me. The sister between jobs. Remember? The charity case." "That was a joke," Natalie shot back. "No," Lena said, her voice quiet but sharp. "It was a weapon. One you used in front of your colleagues. In front of our family. Every chance you had, you reminded everyone that you were the winner, and I was the failure." Natalie flushed. "So what? This is revenge?" Lena shook her head. "This is reality, and you're going to have to decide whether you want to be part of it." Gregory stepped forward, his face unreadable. "I'll leave you two to speak," he said, then looked at Lena. "Welcome aboard, CTO Rowe." The boardroom emptied, leaving the sisters alone. Natalie's voice trembled. "You went behind my back." "No," Lena replied. "I went forward without needing your approval." "Big difference? You don't know how things work here." "I know exactly how things work," Lena said. "And I know that if I had walked in with a resume instead of a company you desperately needed, you would have shredded it before reading my name." Natalie fell silent. Lena continued. "You have a choice. You can keep pretending you're above me, that this isn't happening, or we can actually work together and rebuild something better." Natalie scoffed, then hesitated. "You think you can just walk in and outrank me?" "I didn't walk in to outrank you," Lena said. "I walked in to lead. You're still VP. You still have power. But from here on out, that power depends on whether you can share it." Natalie paced. Her usual composure cracked at the edges. This changes everything." "Yes," Lena said. "It does." There was a long pause. Then Natalie whispered, "Why didn't you tell me?" Lena looked at her sister, not with anger, but with something sadder. "Because you stopped listening a long time ago." Natalie slumped into a chair. "I thought I was the only one who could carry the family name forward." "You were never alone," Lena said gently. "You just never looked beside you." For a moment, the two sat in silence, the air thick with all the years between them. The rivalry, the missed chances, the love buried under expectations. Lena stood. "I'll be at the Integration Summit next week. We'll be on stage together. You can choose what role you want to play when that spotlight hits." Natalie didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on the letterhead Lena had left behind. On the table, the Reeves Tech acquisition terms, Lena's name signed in full. As Lena walked out of the room, she paused by the door and said, without turning around. This isn't revenge, Natalie. It's restoration. You can either fight it or rise with it. Then she was gone. And for the first time in a long time, Natalie didn't know what to say. 6 months later, the Hart family reunion looked a little different. Gone were the rows of white linen tables and overly staged family portraits. No live jazz trio hired by Natalie this time. No signature cocktail named after their father's legacy. Just a picnic-style gathering in the garden behind the house, with mismatched chairs, finger food, and a palpable sense of something new. Sincerity. Lena arrived early, balancing a tray of homemade lemon bars. She wore jeans and a linen shirt, hair tied back casually, the way she used to before tech conferences and boardrooms. Natalie was already there, barefoot on the lawn, sleeves rolled up, arguing with a stubborn folding table. Lena smiled. "You need a hand?" Natalie looked up, startled. Then she laughed, a real laugh, unfiltered. "Only if you're not going to judge me for losing a fight with inanimate objects." "Depends," Lena said. "Did you try rebooting it?" They both laughed as Lena helped her straighten the table. For a long beat, they just stood there, side by side, watching the backyard fill with arriving guests. It wasn't perfect. A few awkward hellos, some distant cousins still not sure how to act around the newly revealed family genius, but it felt more honest than anything they'd done in years. Gregory Hart arrived last. He walked a little, slower these days, and Lena noticed, for the first time, the weariness behind his eyes. Not just from age, but from decades of control, pressure, and the weight of a legacy he'd built too rigidly, he approached Lena alone. "You look good, Dad," Lena said softly. Gregory nodded. "So do you." They stood awkwardly. It had always been easier for Gregory to talk about markets than emotions. "I read your keynote transcript," he finally said. "The one from Singapore." Lena blinked. "You read that?" "I read all of them now," he admitted. "I've been catching up." She didn't know what to say. Gregory looked at the garden, at his 2 daughters, no longer at war. "I was wrong, Lena. I didn't just underestimate you. I failed you." Her throat tightened. "I kept thinking success had to look a certain way," he continued. "Structured, safe, predictable. You didn't fit that. So I made the mistake of thinking you didn't belong." Lena's eyes welled up, but she held them steady. "I didn't want to fight you. I just wanted to be seen." Gregory turned to her. "You are, and not just as a surprise success. As my daughter." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a photo, one she hadn't seen in years. Her, age 12, standing proudly beside a science fair project titled, "How Encryption Keeps Secrets." "I didn't understand this," he said, "but your grandmother did. She framed this one. It was in her closet after she passed." Lena took the photo. The edges were soft, the colors slightly faded. But her young face beamed with joy, holding something she loved long before the world told her it wasn't enough. Behind them, Natalie approached. "Dad," she said, voice cautious, "the grill won't light. I think you scared it." Gregory gave a rare laugh. "I'll show it who's boss." As he walked off, Natalie turned to Lena. "Did he just joke?" Lena nodded. "I think that was a joke." Natalie sighed, then offered Lena a soda. "So, how's life as a tech icon?" Lena accepted the can with a grin. "Chaotic, rewarding. I've been mentoring a few young women founders, starting a new program, first-generation founders, for girls who build in silence like I did." "That's amazing," Natalie said genuinely. "I've been talking to HR. We're rewriting our recruitment playbook. More non-traditional hires, less pedigree chasing." They stood in silence for a moment, sipping quietly. "I owe you an apology," Natalie said, not looking at her. "Not just for the reunion, for everything. For every time I tried to shrink you so I could feel bigger." Lena let the words settle. "You were always good at taking up space. I just needed to learn I was allowed to take up mine. Natalie looked up. You want to teach me how to write code? Lena raised an eyebrow. You serious? I'm not promising to be good at it, Natalie said. But I want to understand what you built. Really understand it. Lena smiled. Then yeah, let's start with Python. No judgment when... You forget semicolons, Natalie laughed. Deal. Later, when the sun dipped low and the yard flickered with string lights, someone suggested a group photo. This time, Lena didn't shy away from standing near the center. Natalie stood next to her, arms slung casually around her shoulders. Gregory rested a hand lightly on both their backs. As the camera flashed, no one was posturing, no one was pretending, just a family, imperfect but present. When the photographer asked for silly poses, Lena stuck out her tongue. Natalie copied her. Gregory raised one eyebrow but cracked a crooked smile. Afterward, Lena wandered to the edge of the lawn, gazing out over the hills that framed their childhood home. Natalie joined her. Do you ever wish we'd gotten here sooner? All the time, Lena said. But maybe we needed to break everything, to rebuild it right. Natalie nodded. You ever think we'll slip back? We will, Lena said. But now we know how to course correct. She looked at her sister. We're not rivals anymore, Nat. We're co-architects. A quiet beat passed. Natalie smiled. Then let's make it the kind of house we'd both want to live in. They turned back toward the laughter behind them, toward family, toward forgiveness, toward something that, for the first time in a long time, felt like home.